So this is Victor. I'm here with a new video to talk about the topic of the month initiated by Vince Venturella, and this month is how we start in Wargaming, how we start in Warhammer, what bring us to there, and what was our first steps, and a little bit of our background on the Warhammer, on how we were introduced into Warhammer. So I will start from. We'll try to make a long story very short. Say that it's around 1993 when I start playing role games, and I start more on role gaming, and I jumped into role gaming and some war games because I was playing a lot of war games and RPGs in my computer, and someone told me, yeah, and there is also board games and table games that you can do the same, so why you don't try it? And then I find even more interesting to do the real role gaming, because interacting with people give more options than just interacting with the computer. And this is how I start really playing my role games. I started a lot with Lord of the Rings and RuneQuest in that period, and then I did some D&D. So D&D was even my third role game. But then in the summer arrived and we were only two, and we start playing Battletech, and we start playing Battletech, Aerotech and Citytech. They were all from the same platform. Battletech is the fight in hexagonal. We were playing on a hexagonal board where big it's called mechs. It is like big walkers are fighting one to each other. And Aerotech is the same fluff, but instead of playing with the mechs, you're playing with the ships and the spaceships. So what more like fighters, more than air fighters, more than spaceships. So this was my initial, my first step, and there was a moment that we decided to do the jump and start playing with real, because this were this war game was based with carton pieces, a carton board that you bend and was standing up with a small plastic piece to stay vertical. But at the end we make the big jump and we went to the miniature gaming. And the first miniature games that I played was Warhammer 40k 2nd edition. And my first game was really bad. So first a very good friend of mine called also Victor told me that he bought the Warhammer 40k and the Dark Millennium in a shop. In that period, the magic or the psychic powers in 40k were sold on a separate set. There were two basic sets. One was the basic rule book with all the rules and all the army lists inside. That was called Warhammer 40k. And then there was an expansion called Dark Millennium, where you have all the psychic powers and a lot of extra equipment that you can add to your character. So in that period was quite different in what is today, and the rules were much difficult. So we decided to do the first game. He told me that he was playing Elder, so I decided, okay, then I will take the bad guys. The bad guys that comes in the basic battle set were the orcs. And then we started making points, and we realized that we were short of miniatures. There were not enough orcs in the basic set to fight the Elder. So then I said, okay, let me try Chaos, because Chaos, the Space Marines were looking more expensive in terms of points, so I decided to proxy a full army using orcs as Chaos Space Marines. And this was how I started doing Chaos, and how I started playing Chaos in 40k. Then I started reading the fluff, and I started doing more background, and I like it even more to play with Chaos. The problem at the initial point when I started in 40k is that there were no codex for the Chaos, and there were no miniatures, so I was borrowing miniatures from Fantasy. The only miniatures in 40k at that period for the Chaos were the very basic plastic Berserkers. I have some of them here that I will show to you, just as an anecdote, anecdotic. So this was from this period. Of course, the paint job was done later in that case, but this was one of my first miniatures. So sorry that it's not good enough, but this is Berserkers was one of my favorite miniatures in Warhammer 40k. This together with some very basic Terminators that I have somewhere here on the shelf. So yeah, this was the starting point, and then I started playing Chaos, another period that was being hammered down a lot by the Eldar. Eldar were very powerful at the second edition. I was playing at that point. I was the only army list that I have was in the basic rulebook, and I was even managed, and the system were very similar to what is fantasy today. So the army was selected by percentages. You should choose some percentages on different type of troops, and the classifications were slightly different. But in summarizing, there were characters, there were heavy support, and there were some basic troops, and you also had to take percentages from there. So I started playing Chaos, playing with the 4 great demons on the table. And if you want to see how a great demon from that period was looking like, I will show you the Bloodthirster and the Keeper of Secrets from this period. And this is the paint job from that moment. So this is the Bloodthirster, and this is the Keeper of Secrets that I paint around 1994, 1995, around this period. Even you were allowed to use your beastman in that army. So I bought some fantasy beastman to be used in 40k, and this was the nice fantasy beastman from this period of the game. So you can see was very basic painting job that I did in that period. So yeah, this was my first step. So we started playing with a lot of proxies. Our scenography were books, glasses, pots, I don't know, anything that we can find there. We even did like, because we were playing a lot role games, so we also did games with what we call a game director, no? Two players were playing each other, and then there was a guy that was leading the battle and was adding some special rules in the battle. So we played, I remember playing a battle that was on a world that was collapsing, and then you create some additional effects similar to what is Apocalypse today. Not that extreme, but we were doing something like that. So we play a lot second edition. And then, I think was around 1997, Blood Bowl appears, and we were 3 friends, we decided to buy the Blood Bowl, because Warhammer 40k needs some investment of time, and we think, okay, Blood Bowl with some miniatures, between 15 miniatures, you will have your team ready. There were some promotions because they were launching the Blood Bowl, the new edition. So we bought 3 teams. So we bought 1 team plus the basic Blood Bowl, and I take the orcs from the Blood Bowl. And I've been playing Blood Bowl for a long time, and I was very successful with my orcs. So yeah, this is how and then later in the 1997, my mother decided to open a shop, a hobby shop. So she decided to open a shop where we were selling a lot of Games Workshop products, plus role games and a lot of stuff, and also models, historical models like Tamiya or Rebel or something like that. So in that period, then I started doing, initiating people, and we had a couple of tables to play in the shop. So I started also reading Warhammer Fantasy, and I started playing Warhammer Fantasy. And the first army that I decided to play in Warhammer Fantasy was Skaven. So at this point in the time, it was I think around 1998 or 1999, I had 3 armies: Chaos for 40k, Blood Bowl, where more than I'm is the team, and then I started collecting Skaven. But at this moment was quite challenging. You have to imagine, we complained that today that the kits are very expensive, but at this moment they were almost everything metal miniatures. They were not plastic kits. The only plastic kits were the basic Skavens, where all were facing on the same position. So you buy a kit of 10 Skavens, all the same position, every stationary, just one piece. The same that comes in the Warhammer quest, and I think if you have seen some of the old Skavens, you will see this miniature. I can show it to you, just give me a minute. So this is the Skaven I'm talking about, all the same in the box. No one block of plastic, the only thing that you have to glue is the shield. So sorry, the light is not helping a lot. Hope now it's better. What you see, it's one block Skaven. And from this period is where I have all my, a little bit, my style of painting. So in that period in the 90s, if you look any Games Workshop or Citadel pictures, you will see that they were painting with very bright colors. And this is why I also paint, I like to paint with bright colors, and I keep doing that today. So if you see some of my armies, they have quite bright colors, and I like a lot. Now they go more to more realistic colors and more like pastel and something like that, but I think I try to keep some of this eye-catching of the 90s. And my Skaven, to be fair, each Skaven is painted differently, so I don't have an army color scheme. Because in that period all the Skavens were painted different, and I started like that in the 90s, and I keep doing that today when I paint Skavens. So yeah, I was playing this army. When I started in fantasy, there was was before the kit of the Bretonnian versus Lizardmen, was the kit before, where I think there was Empire versus Orcs in the basic kit, if I'm not wrong, and the monsters were pieces of board instead of being plastic, instead of being miniatures. So they were just a piece of board standing with a base, and that was a Griffon, I think, and there was the was the serpent, from the Orcs. And then they arrived the new editions. So the third edition for Warhammer 40k that drastically changed all the rules, and this was the reason that I started doing Dark Eldar, because we bought the kit for the shop. My brother in that moment was a little bit interested in Wargaming. No, it's not at all. And he decided that he wants to play Marines, and say, okay, I will take the other kit, I will paint the Dark Eldar, and we'll start doing Dark Eldar. And this is why I have a lot of old Dark Eldar in my collection, because I start just when they appear for the first time. With the very basic rules, third edition was very basic rules, and then I start Bretonnian when appears the kit of Warhammer Fantasy with the Bretonnian versus the Lizardmen. I lost all the Lizardmen over time, but I keep the Bretonnian from the collection. So I was enjoying a lot painting Bretonnians, I think it was great. So at that moment the period in time that I had two armies. I had Chaos, because I remember that the Chaos Space Marines and Demons of Chaos were the same codex, and I had Bretonnian and Skaven. And from there, yeah, at the end the shop didn't work well, we had to close the shop, but I keep doing Wargaming. I was involved in several clubs, and there was a period that was very active, playing the Rock Trade League in Spain, but then when I started working, there was a period that my interest on Wargaming. I always keep painting. I think I keep painting all these years, and this is why my collection is so huge. I never stop painting. Maybe I stopped painting for 2-3 months, but then I catch up. I never been painting without painting more than, I guess, 3 or 4 months. So you can imagine that I have a lot of miniatures painted right now. Yeah, and from there is when I start. I don't know how I go into the other armies. Sometimes I start other armies because I like miniatures. I remember that I start Mercenaries, Dogs of War, sorry, in English, because appears the new army book. I think this should be about 4th edition for fantasy or 5th edition for fantasy. Was in the same edition where the Bretonnians appeared for first time, or was, I don't remember. No, was before the kit of the. I don't remember exactly, but I remember when appears the first army book of the Dogs of War. I found it very interesting, and then I start collecting. But today is really a prohibitive army to collect. It's very expensive, and all what you can find is second hand on eBay at very high cost. So yeah, this is my background. So summarizing, this is why I'm not too picky on when people coming with proxies. I remember my starting in Wargaming. I remember that I was playing escaping with a lot of goblins as to be able to play at the beginning, because I had the basic kit that had a lot of goblins and then I filled all my currencies and all what I was not able to have with goblins. So I used a lot of proxies over time. The miniatures were not ready, so I used proxies when the miniatures were not available. I used proxies when I didn't have money to buy the appropriate miniature. What I always try to have is have a miniature that is representative of the size of what you want to represent. But if you look back, second edition Warhammer 40k, the Dreadnought was a board that comes in the first Dreadnought we played was a piece of board that was coming in the basic kit that was standing vertical, but was a 2D board of the drawing of the Dreadnought. So I understand that you need a lot of investment, you need to dedicate some time to have army, and you want to try different things. So this is why I'm not very picky with the proxies and unpainted armies. I know all the investment that all that means, and it's the way to encourage other people to start and testing the game. So yeah, this was my starting, and I've been playing different games all over time. I played Necromunda, and I have some Necromunda miniatures there. I tried Gorka Morka, but was not very popular in my shop and in Spain. Yeah, when Warzone was launched, the first edition of Warzone, but was also around 1999 or 2000, something like that. The first Warzone appeared. The first kit, I have a lot of these Warzone miniatures. I learned the rules, but today, of course, I completely forgot about that because I didn't continue. I was playing Magic when I was in the shop, but it was nothing that really interested me. I even was, I was qualified as being referee for Magic for a period, but yeah, because I was organizing tournaments of Magic on Warhammer 40k when we had the shop. But at the end, I give up completely on the cards. I keep all my cards. I think I should sell them on the second-hand market because I have quite a second edition and third edition Magic cards of Magic, and from even before the Ice Age of Magic. So yeah, and then I played Gothic, and I think I test a lot. But today after testing all these games, I decided that today I focus my attention on Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k. I have more than enough with these two games, and now with the rhythm that Games Workshop is launching, all the new things and all the rhythm that is launching all the new miniatures, I think I have more than enough. I feel a lot of times tempted by Malifaux or by other games, but then I see all the dedication I need, and maybe if one day I find more people that is playing these games, maybe I start. But for today, with Warhammer 40k and Fantasy, I have more than enough. And I think I talked long enough. I think this is, yeah, is all my background. And if you have more questions, and if you want to know a little bit more, don't hesitate to put the question in the comments below. I'm open to answer any question. Yeah, and that's all. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this was not too boring. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. And don't forget to go to the link below to the Vince Venturella video, where you can find other Wargamers telling about how they start in Warhammer. So thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.